Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
A Professor Sunreis Productions!
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
Ooh, we like strong
Bring
deck.
balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness!
What's wrong with these guys? Anyways, hello class, Professor Sunreis here. In today's class, we're gonna finally take a look at the Bright Sprite list, which I've been cooking up in the kitchen for me and a little bit also for you guys, but mostly for me. I hope you virtual enjoyers out there are not too mad about me for ditching the deck for now. Don't be afraid, I'm still gonna post virtual content, probably fewer replay analysis, but this is where you can come in. So if you want me to take a look at your virtual gameplay, leave me some replays down in my email below, or just hit me on Discord. I can leave you my Discord in the description as well. So yeah, without further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave some feedback down below, and let's get right into the profile. So before we go into the card by card, let's talk about my reasoning for switching the deck. So as you all know, Brave Spright is probably the best deck in the format right now. At least it's the most consistent one. Next to T elements, so I really wanted to play something high mana for once. I usually have always like stick to like the lower tiers because I didn't really want to run into any of the most common cards. I kind of wanted to dodge them and maybe get like side hit by them a little bit here and there, depending on the deck which I've been playing. But usually I try to stick it lower, but in a format which is so heavily dominant, like 60-70% of the tournament is gonna be Sprite tier elements. At some point you just have to bite the bullet to play the best deck, especially if the deck of choice gets hit by all the cards which hit Spright the hardest, as well as Virtual World loses to spot removal just as hard as Spright does. I mean, it loses to it way harder. So at some point you just have to bite the bullet and just switch the deck. So I decided to play Spright because I for once wanted to play the most consistent deck available to the format, and Spright is by far the most consistent. Ultimately, I decided not to play the most consistent version of it, as I feel like the consistency of it is super high how it is, and I wanted the most powerful when going first and going second, and I feel like the Brave variant is what that does. Most importantly, the Pure variant, while it's very good against the elements with 2 to 3 hand trip, it is very reliant on that, and it can't deep draw into them, so sometimes you're going first board, you only will have 1 hand trap with it, and you will just get run over by T elements super hard. You will have the follow, of course, but they can sometimes just kill you. Also, going second, it needs to see the hand traps and can sometimes still lose to just that 1 disruption if you have like 2 to 3 hand traps and the opponent still ends on a Darkest Apelia or a Snow or stuff like that. These won't do anything, and the hand traps, like I said, are quite bad in the mirror. There are times when you have full board plus 2 to 3 hand traps and the mirror, you will still get crushed, as you've seen in my last profile. The Life Twin variant, sorry, also seems very strong, and I've been tinkering with it. All of my buddies are on it. Most important reason why I don't go for it is just because I feel like the Brave variant is a little bit stronger, as it gives an insane grind game the way I play it. It has an answer to mine, and has an answer to Dark Ruler, as you can just leave the Griffin in your hand. And it's super good against Diva Sprite. And the Go Second Power, the Brave Engine just gives you into a shit ton of matchup. It's just super strong. So these are my reasons for why I decided to play the Brave variant over the Life Rune variant, even though, like I said, the Life Rune variant is still very good. And why I didn't play the Mystic Rune variant, well, I didn't test it yet, but with Mystic Mine getting a little less popular in the meta right now, I feel like the need to go for a Mystery Rune engine is not as needed, but definitely something to watch out for, and I just haven't tested it yet. But I really like the Brave engine and how it plays. And I have ulti enchantresses, so might as well play them. So let's get into the profile. This is a 42 card list. Sadly, I couldn't really. I could cut maybe 1 card, but then I'm on 41. Might as well stay at 42. This should be fine. Everything over there is becoming kind of questionable. So for the Brave engine, for the Spright engine, pretty standard. The 3 starter, the 3 blue, the 3 jet. These are the starters of this. Of course, this is a 1 card starter. These are insane extenders with basically anything. For utility, 1 red, 1 carrot, everything but pure Spright should probably only stick at 1 red. Maybe the Diva variant could use a second one, but you don't really need it. 1 Pixies, super important card, would always play it. The deck grinds like crazy. So it is really important that you have additional names. Pixies gives you good utility, even though I have a few answers to like battle phase forces in the form of Pit Knight. I still feel like a Pixies is mandatory, just as it's just another name. It doesn't really break, especially in the in the Brave variant, where you can't really normal summon anything. So any level 2 normal summon is basically worth the same. So Pixies should be fine. And one Smashers in the main. Yeah, definitely mandatory to play that one Smashers in the main just to out Mystic Mine, just to have that searchable disruption. I usually always go for it. In the beginning, when I played the hand trap variant, I didn't always go for it when I had like 2 hand traps with like full combo. I thought I could get away with the, what's it called? With the starter search, but it's just too important to get that going. Now with how we played, we will have follow-up no matter what with the Toad and the Nimble package. So it is a-okay to not search the starter. Now for the, why is this sorted so weirdly? Let's put this on the top here. Now for the Brave package, I decided to max out everything of the starters just because we have no way of inherently searching this with our combo. We have no Cherubini, we have no Beatrice, we have no Curious, so we just have to hard draw this. So opening, we have to open it, and it's better to have like the good cards in multiples than to just have one of the bad cards but no of the starters. So we place 3 of these, 1 Foolish, which also is basically a starter, which doesn't lock us into level 2s because we can use this to send Angler and have full combo with that. So that's really cool. And then we have 1 Griffin and also 1 Illegal Knight in the main deck. I've seen a few of the European Championship, I think it was, yeah, Brave Spright list just playing the Illegal Knight and siding the Griffin. So I tested that. And first of all, I really like the Illegal Knight in the current meta. It's really strong against Spright. It has an amazing answer after Dark Ruler because you can just keep this in hand and just wait for them to Dark Ruler you. And if they didn't Dark Ruler you on the first action, you can Toad Negate, and after that you can summon the Griffin. So now you still have an Omni Negate out against everything, and after your opponent committed, you can then use the Elf to revive the Toad, where you get your 3 Omni Negates a turn, which is really good. Illegal Knight is just really good at breaking boards, at going second. Sometimes it's better to search than a Griffin, depending on the matchup, of course. But what I missed about that is that sometimes the deck is kind of fragile, as it just likes the normal start, and sometimes you can just die to 1 hand trap if you open Brave plus like the normal play, and if you don't have the Griffin Rider option available to you, it just feels so bad where you usually will have a combo which plays to 1 to 2 hand traps, just die to 1 hand trap just because you didn't have the Griffin in the deck. So ultimately I decided to play both of them, and so far I've really liked it. This also opened up my side deck slot for second Smashers, which I really like in value super high, but I couldn't play because of how the extra deck was, how the main and side deck were formed. So I really like these 2 in the main deck. It also gives the Brave engine in the main insane grind game, just because usually, especially in the Spright mirror, the opponent will have a hard time dealing with both the token and the level 7 on board. So on the next turn, you can use the Fateful Adventure to search either one of them. So either you search the Enchantress to get a right again, or you search either of these 2 because you still have the token on the field. So that's very good in my opinion. And most importantly, this is just a very good engine overall against Mystic Mine, like I said earlier, against especially going second with the Illegal Knight, and going first. This is also like really solid at protecting your play. So it really feels like these all of these basically act as go second cards, but which are also really good at going first, way better than just 1 hand trap. Finish it off with 1 adventure, 1 Draco bag. Thought about maybe a second adventure, but as it just doesn't come up. You don't really have a way into it to get into it, so you don't really want to open too many of them as well. So you sadly cannot play it, even though it would sometimes come up. Then for the Frog package, 3 swap, 1 Ronin. Nothing too spectacular. I would like to play a dupe, but we are already on 42, and it just doesn't really look too fancy to me. Overall, the deck plays into super polymerization no matter what, so this is not the problem. It's mostly just a space issue. And also, there are plenty of ways to play around the normal summon beat, or like a special summon, like a special any danger beat, by having just a shit ton of hard negates, while having the Pixies in the main deck, while having the Pit Knight. So I'm feeling confident enough to where I don't need that as much. And then for the Nimble package, 2 Angler and 2 Beaver. I feel like this is so strong. Angler doesn't brick at all, and all of the European national list actually played this at 3. So I was thinking about playing it at 3 as well, which is still something I'm thinking about. But like I said, we had 42, so we kind of have to take out a few things here and there. They were also not playing pixies, which I really don't like at all. But the Angler is insane. It is full combo basically if you have normal combo, because you can get swapped back into hand and then just pitch it off. It's combo with any of the Brave cards, like any of the Brave starters, plus Adventure Fateful, so that's 8 cards. It's combo with 3 swaps Heartron, so that's 11 cards in the main deck already where this combos with. Add to that 3 Prosperity and all of the defensive cards, and this is a super strong card at going second, basically giving you so many bodies to play with to break boards, and helped immensely to break the boards, because a lot of times Spright does struggle going second against established boards, but a variant like this can just gash through boards super well and stay on a minimal go second cards counts, so that it can have like a very consistent going first, as well as this combos going first just as well. You also play the 2 Beaver to summon, which is really good. It's just another normal summon you can use to have full combo basically. If you don't hard draw the Brave Engine, of course. But most importantly, this card is the best Toad add-back you can have, just because it basically goes infinite. It can just summon itself or the other copy of it out of the graveyard. So you have an insane Toad add-back, you have an insane starter in the Angler, you get like extra consistency with the Foolish, you have insane 2-card combos with Swap Frog, with Enchantress, with Ride, with Adventure. Overall, I really like this package. Going first, it's not as strong as it just extends into a Pit Knight. So the 2 extra bodies you use for these, you link into a Pit Knight, but Pit Knight does help with the biggest weakness of the deck. It's low attack points, so it's not the worst. It's better than an Imperm, just slightly better. Speaking of the prosperities earlier, really like the prosperities in this. I've seen a lot of deck profiles talking about siding out 1 or 2 prosperities post side. Definitely something one could do. I'm probably gonna test it out, because I've been signing out 1 Swap Frog and I think a bit of the Spright Engine depending on the matchup. But definitely a really good card. You have to watch out in the mirror. Usually you can only really comfortably go for 3 in the mirror. If you have to go for 6, it can sometimes feel bad. But it's something just to have to play, especially in the Brave variant, because while Spright is super consistent, like I said, the Brave Spright variant does lose a bit of its consistency, just because it doesn't play like these 3 to 6 normal summons the other variants are playing, which are basically full combo. But yeah, the Prosperity just is insanely good in this deck. And then lastly, for board breakers, like I said, these combo with Angler. So we have 3 Droplet and 3 Super Poly. Any plus of these plus Enchantress or Angler are completely nuts and basically break boards by themselves. These are 2 cards out of your 6 cards you will have to basically go 2 for 3. So you use 2 cards and usually will get 3 to 4 disruptions depending on what they are out of them. That's super strong, as this gives you 3 bodies on the board while dealing with 1 to 2 disruptions your opponent had. It is nuts. So definitely really like these. They do clock the extra deck up a little bit, but these are just free Prosperity banishes if you don't have the Super Poly, and you don't need the Super Poly to be picked up by the Prosperity. So that's super fine in my opinion. And then lastly, 1 Called by the Grave. I'm thinking about cutting this, as it's just not really that impactful. The deck plays through hand trips inherently well, especially with the Brave Engine, so you don't really need it. Going second against Spright, this is super fine, but going second against T-Element, this is kind of like last time. This could be the 3rd Angler. But other than that, there's nothing really I feel comfortable enough to side out. And everyone is playing it, so it seems fine. It's not the greatest, but a lot of people are hyping it up. It should definitely be banned, but this deck, it's not as insane, I feel like. For the extra deck, we have 3 Elf, mandatory. I also don't really banish 1 of Prosperity, just because I feel like the 3rd one is always needed so much. So yeah, most important card out of the extra deck. Definitely the strongest card Spright has available to it. 1 Pit Knight. I love this card. So usual end board will be Elf, Pit Knight here, then you have a Toad here, making so that if you activate Elf, so for example, the Declare Battle Phase, you can activate Elf. You won't get the double Toad, but you can use blue to search Pixies or like anything else you need, and then you can, if the opponent doesn't have anything on the Elf, you can chain Pit Knight to turn the 1 monster they have into 0 attack. So at that point, they did force off the Elf, but they didn't get rid of all of the resources, which is by far the most important aspect, because you've put just up so many resources, the opponent at some point just struggles. Even if they get all of your disruptions gone, they will not have enough resources on their own to get rid of all of your resources, especially because Pit Knight basically has to get banished or sent by any card effect or something like that, because this floats if it gets destroyed by battle or card effect. So this feels like a really good pickup for the deck, in my opinion. And then for other Link 2s, we have the Charmers, of course. Ariel, the Water Charmer is insane in the mirror. The Dark Charmer is also fine as it gets you into the engine bag, but this just summoning the Toad the opponent used on you is super strong. Yeah, really like the Charmers. The Nimble package also opens up the Water Charmer, so that's very important in my opinion. One access code, this is like my flex board to out big beat sticks. We cannot get it over 5-3, but 4-3 is fine. I decided to this over both the Goddess, not both the Goddess, the Underworld Goddess, just because this could also in a pinch like out like some back row decks. For example, if I reboot them, I could go into access code and get rid of some of the back row if that ever comes up. In the end, this usually not really come up, and I'm maybe even gonna switch to the Underworld Goddess just because it doesn't really matter too much what you play for that slot. For the XEs, 2 Gigantic, you don't need more than that. 1 Toad, you also don't need more than that. The Zeus package, and that's sadly it for the XEs. No Onibaru, Soul Sweeper, whatever it's called, even though I'd really like to play it. Maybe I'm gonna switch off the access code for it, but honestly, not having an answer for like all of the big beat sticks feels kind of bad. But who knows, maybe I will switch it up, as I really don't use the XE slot, the access code slot too much. And then lastly, for the fusions, 1 Garura, 1 Mud Dragon. These are just super poly targets for this. You don't really have a lot to go into with them, apart from the Charmers, but these are definitely lines which help, especially in the mirror. Against Tier Elements, they don't really do too much, the lines I'm talking about. But Guru is just fine, giving you that additional draw, pushing for game with it. It's kind of cute. Mud Dragon's effect does come up against like stuff like Imperum, Vela, stuff like that, so you can protect your most important plays from those cards exactly. Yeah, 15 card extra deck, of course. Now for the side deck, against back row, we are on 3 Lightning Storm. A really strong card right now, especially against Flunder. Really like it. 1 Reboot, 1 Pang, and a 2nd Smashers. I am thinking about cutting these 2 cards for Cosmics, as just Mystic Mine, Mystery Rune is super annoying as a deck, and these cards are like my back row slots, but they don't really do a lot against them. So I'm thinking about cutting these, but then again, Pancratops is just so strong in the mirror, it feels bad to cut it. So who knows what I will do. Red Reboot also is not as insane in this deck, as we just lack ways to clear back row boards, especially if your only play is like a starter, or you have to go into a Gigantic to really have meaningful plays. Not being able to get rid of most of the opponent's back row will feel kinda lame. Even though our variant with the Brave cards and stuff like Griffin, Draco Bag, Illegal Knight can definitely deal with back row temporarily. So yeah, maybe the reward will get dropped for a Cosmic Cycle, and further testing needs to be done, of course. One more additional board breaker in the form of Dark Ruler, just super strong overall, especially in the mirror, of course. And then for going first, I am on 3 Appointer, 3 Deep Prison. I was on the 2/2 variant, and where you would substitute these for Trap Trick, but in the end I decided not to do it because it just felt so bad to open like a Trap Trick plus D barrier, as you really don't want to shotgun a D barrier, especially if you're Appointer your opponent and you know what they have, and they probably won't be able to crack your board effectively. I would much rather have my opponent commit into the plays, and then when the D barrier is applicable, use the D barrier, as the deck inherently grinds quite well, and puts the opponent in a grind game at least for 1 or 2 turns. I really want my opponent to commit to some plays before I flip my Lingering Floodgates. So the Trap Trick interaction felt kind of off. And ultimately I decided to go for the 3/3. Of course, we do miss like the 1 copy of Appointer that way, where we would have 4 copies. But in the end, it doesn't really matter if we have Appointer or D-Barrier. Well, Appointer lets us play more efficiently. D-Barrier plays more efficiently into your opponent's resources, as of course they will get the card back with Appointer. So in the end, it doesn't really matter what you get out of these A pointer is also a little bit more applicable into all of the matchups, while the barrier is only really, really insane against exactly T elements on Exorcisters, I guess. Against Spright, this card is not as strong, but it's still strong enough where it warrants a side deck slot. So that's been my side deck. Like I said, I'm still like in the midway of like solving this deck for me, so definitely still a few changes with our available there, but I basically talked about all of them. It's mostly like the side deck, maybe getting this back to 40, but in the end I don't really see anything at which I can cut here. I definitely want to max out the Brave engine. I definitely want to play the Spright engine how I do it, as I've played without pixies and it just felt so bad. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Stay tuned for more updates on this deck list. I'm cooking it up in the kitchen, as you guys know it. If Dueling Book Rated is enabled again, it's currently disabled. Yeah, life fucking sucks. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this profile. Class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.